From a business and an organizational perspective, only the leader who is aware of how they construct their thinking, how they construct their environment, is going to be capable of leading their organization into a much more complex, emerging world.
If we fundamentally understand why people do what they do and how we can help them to be the best that they can be, organizations will win.
When we look at leaders, from business leaders to government leaders to leaders in science, even NGOs, it's very hard to find people at the top of those organizations that actually have the ability to cope with the level of complexity that we have on our planet today.
This is about releasing capacities, human capacities which are latent, waiting to be utilized. It's about learning how to resolve the big issues that we're facing on the planet, but also to release solutions that delight and surprise us. This is about quality of life.
We need to be learning. People need to be learning all the time, and that's so much of what life is learning.
Potentialisation is the process of realising our potential. We're looking to understand how people work. We've got a team of experts that help us do that, and that helps us help you to grow. Potentialisation is bringing the best in psychometric tools, in business tools, and business understanding, growth, to a much wider audience, so that it's accessible to everybody, so that we've all got an opportunity to understand ourselves and grow and be more effective.
I think that when people can learn more about themselves, then they can get curious about so much more. And they can get excited about their uniqueness and what they bring to the world. And that's what can be revealed with tools and instruments like this. And to just be able to offer that to so many people on a large scale, for me, is really exciting.
Potentialisation really is about equipping us as individuals, as families, as organisations, as a society, which is the missing piece of the conversation, to actually choose the quality of life we want and make sure it happens. But do it in a way that leaves behind a regenerative planet, because that's our most fundamental resource base.
So if we can make people more aware of what they could do, what they could be, then hopefully they will become more fulfilled, they will see their potential to help others, and they'll begin to understand their own internal conflicts and their conflicts with other people.
So I'm excited about the Potentialisation project because what it does is it brings in a number of different tests where people can find out how they respond in moments, how they think emotionally, how they construct their thinking. And you've got a potentially graded, scaled way of growing your own development. And for me, it's all about development.
The number of issues that we're facing at the moment is growing. Global warming is threatening in many ways. Artificial intelligence is disrupting jobs. We're disrupting the ecosystems. Individually, that means that we're going to have to be more flexible. We might have to retrain, do new jobs, so many different things that most of us are not used to. We all need a world where we're more adaptable. By understanding ourselves more clearly, by becoming more effective in our lives, our relationships, our teams, we can thrive and prosper with new solutions to these complex, wicked problems.
It's everything that we read in the newspaper every day. We have layers and layers and layers of wicked problems. So we have loads of examples of them. Climate change is one. Health and well-being is a huge problem on planet Earth. Poverty, famine, COVID-19, undereducation of people, disparity of the extremely wealthy and the extreme poor. All of these are examples of wicked problems, and a wicked problem is not an evil problem or a bad problem. It's a word that was coined in the 1950s, and it simply relates to a problem that is incredibly complex. And it's a problem that is so complex, it's hard to understand what's the underlying root cause, and it's very often difficult to even test a solution. Typically, the people who have the leadership and the authority and the power to make decisions simply are operating out of really outdated paradigms. Everything that we read about is only looking at the symptoms of the problem. And that's why it's such a massive problem, is because we are only addressing it symptomatically, and we're not using it as the opportunity to question every premise of how society, government are run.
People are not self-aware. We think we are, and lots of studies out there show that actually we don't really know what we're doing at all. This is the problem, okay? If I said to you, how were you thinking about that? You will actually describe what you're thinking. You won't tell me. Actually, the filters that I'm running right now based on that are, I like my own opinion, I don't care what you think. No one ever talks like that because we don't know. We use these things called heuristics, which are cognitive shortcuts. So if I said to you, how do you know you're doing a good job? There are a couple of responses. I just know, or I need you to tell me. So one's an internal perspective, one's an external perspective. The relationship between internal and external is key because we don't know about these two heuristics. We're not taught how we think, we're taught what to think. And this is the issue that I've got today with all forms of psychology, all different types of personality tests, as well as psychometrics. What's the point of knowing that openness maps to agreeableness? It's kind of fairly obvious. And it doesn't matter how you measure the statistics of it. What I want to know is, do you know you're open, and do you know it's a choice? Because most of the time, we don't know it's a choice. You have to have a certain level of self-awareness before you can say, I choose not to be open today. I choose not to be open to new experiences. Or, you know what, today I'm going to do something different. How many people have that choice in their thinking and their acting? In my research, in my doctorate, it's about 20%.
The fundamental problem is that we're stuck in a way of thinking about what organizations are and how they work. It's a hangover from the last 80 years of the way organizations have developed, that they've developed from a mechanistic model. They've developed out of this idea that an organization is about production. And it's very understandable, that's where organizations started. Certain people are performing very well, but the vast majority of people aren't. I mean, the Gallup studies show that 2/3 of people are disengaged at work. Well, what do we mean by that? That means that they really couldn't care less whether they're there or not. They're coming along, they're getting their paycheck, but they're not putting any additional effort in over and above what they're doing.
I don't want to sound pessimistic, but we have to change radically. If you track the degradation of the biosystem on the planet, you have senior politicians in the UK are staking their political future on the fact that UK soils have got about 40 years left of harvests. What gets missed in that conversation is if soil degrades to a point where, in agricultural sense, where the microbiome collapses, basically, how long does our human species exist? Not because we're short of food, that won't be an issue. The issue is that we lose our ability to sustain life on the planet, of which we are absolutely and totally dependent. So some practitioners in this field now, leading physicians and scientists, are saying, perhaps it's an 80-year horizon before we cause ourselves significantly harm as a species. It may well occur before then, we just don't know.
It's quite interesting the language people use around the people within their organization. And I use the word people purposefully because there's this idea that we talk about staff or employees and these sort of things that are, quite abstract terms. And we have a human resources department. Well, there's a resource. This is all part of the language that is to do with not seeing people as people and seeing people for the talents and what they bring rather than what we can do with them. So there is a very interesting point here about trying to change the language that we use, because actually the language that we use creates the culture in which we live.
How many things are you thinking of? Are you thinking of long-term ramifications of your decisions? Are you understanding what's going to happen if you do this rather than if you do that? How is it going to impact you, your family, whatever? The more capable you are of seeing all those dots that you're joining in the moment, the higher your dynamic intelligence. And it's that connection that I would like to get across to people, to say, it doesn't matter what you call it, whether it's personality or emotional intelligence or stage development, doesn't matter. The more self-aware you are, the greater your capacity to choose a response in the moment. And that is the best position to be in. Choice.
The distinction between that which is complicated, machines, and the complex. A complex system can self-organize. And what we're working with in potentialization is understanding the profound self-organizing capacities of the human species. And the patterning and the research clearly shows new thinking has been emerging over the last 100 years, and we're learning to utilize it. And that's really why we're coming together, to learn to release that capacity to allow us to self-organize our way through.
So we're really conscious that we're not trying to say to anybody, we're going to solve all of those global problems. What we are trying to do is build a framework that allows as many people as possible to increase their capacity for clearer thinking, for better decisions, so that they can address what matters to them, whether it be in their life at home, their life at work, or a bigger global community for those people that are interested in working on those problems. So we're looking towards a greater capacity globally to make changes, to make the world better wherever we can.
It first takes like putting on a new pair of glasses and looking at the world with fresh eyes. That's the starting place. And then taking the same information that everybody else has, but deciphering it in a different way and looking at the whole of the issue or the challenge. And then asking the question, what really is the problem? Then once we really understand the problem, now we can finally start to get to solutions. But when we look at those solutions, we have to look at what are the unintended consequences of those solutions, socially, economically, for the ecosystem, for our Earth. What are all those unintended consequences? And then somehow choose the solution or set of solutions which is beneficial to all of those.
An important part of potentialization is building on this concept of pressing the pause button. It provides information that holds a mirror up to the individual or to a group, it doesn't matter the scale. We have to question every basic assumption that we believe to be true. And that's done in small scale at the moment, but certainly not at the large scale. And just about every social premise, every social structure that we use will have to be re-examined to enable us to make the transition.
In our training that we give to farmers, in the very first session, we use one of the tools and we introduce them to the worldviews, and they get exposure to what are all the worldviews of the last 120,000 years that humans have been growing through and we're continuing to grow through. And within 20 minutes, I can get any group of farmers anywhere in the world to tell me what are the 3 worldviews that underpin industrial agriculture. And they always tell me the same 3. I've never had a group tell me a different set. So I know they're accurate. That's quite accurate. They tell me that industrial agriculture is underpinned by a blind focus on power, strict adherence to traditional principles, all for the sake of profit. And then I ask them, okay, now given the life conditions, the really complex life conditions we're all living in today, what are the 3 worldviews that would help us to overturn the complex problems we face? They always name the same 3. Always. And I've worked with farmers from many countries all over the world. And I just find that fascinating, that it is so resounding. These new worldviews take into account people, purpose, and planet when we make decisions. And that's the difference that makes the difference. So then, once they have this foundation, during the whole rest of the class, they become very open. And I've had people say to me, now I know I'm not going crazy. Now I know why I think differently to the other farmers around me, because they're following the paradigms of industrial agriculture, and I am emerging into the paradigms that bring us to regenerative agriculture that's able to regenerate our planet and grow food and fiber at the same time, and lead to clean water, reverse climate change, lead to healthy food that's going to create healthy human bodies, and allow emergence, allow human development, allow us to create a beautiful planet for our future generations, allow us to create heaven on earth.
Potentialisation brings us a broader view of psychology and opens that up to everybody. We've created a powerful web platform that lets us use some of the best psychometric systems that are out there, and we're researching new ones all the time to add even more flexibility and more power to how we support you to grow. And it's very important for us that we make that accessible, and the basic services are free to anybody in the world. Just log in, take your psychometric tests. The system will produce you automated reports with advice, help you to understand yourself, and you can grow and be more effective from that. But if you want more, you can use the more in-depth tests and a paid service which will allow you to engage with a coach, and it's up to you how far you want to go. We provide you with a learning path that is tailored to your own individual needs based on your psychometrics, your personality, your skills, to help you navigate through your life more effectively. If you want to tick a box that says, I'm looking for projects to do, I'm looking for people to work with, tick a box and we will automatically try to match you with people, with projects, with organizations around the world that you can collaborate with, share with, network with. If you might be a suitable candidate for that, we'll send you a message, and the choice of whether to share with that particular company, whether you want to engage with them or not, is always down to you. We've assembled a team of experts across a broad field of specializations from psychology, personality traits, emotional intelligence, stage development, worldviews, so that together we can bring you a set of tools that can help you grow in ways that you didn't even realize were possible. No matter how good your team is, you need to connect with other businesses. We were really pleased to have been chosen by Daresbury Innovation Centre to be a member of their Future Club. They have an incredible network of companies on the site with over 150 companies. And as we progress and launch our service, we're hoping that many of those companies will take a look at our service as well to help them grow.
So the aim of the Future Club is to bring the expertise of the team of people on the Scitech Daresbury site, along with our wider partners, from the likes of STFC, Daresbury Laboratory, our gold partners, organisations like IBM, into our investor network to actually, in a very bespoke way, help the members of the Future Club tackle their very specific challenges to achieve the milestones that they need. We have, and have over the last couple of years, had a much stronger focus around talent and skills. If we're looking at the biggest challenges going forward for our high growth companies, that's going to be, can they find the right talent? Can they retain the right talent? Can they develop the right talent? And that's our radar strategy. We talk about attract, develop and retain. Well, potentialisation is kind of at the heart of that, because it is looking at putting in the tools and the analytics in place to actually help individuals and organisations get the maximum out of their own potential. So I can see that that would be a really valuable tool that sits right at the heart of the community here at Scitech Daresbury.
I believe that we've already started to make the turn towards a very positive future. I've got certain hope in an uncertain world, but I don't underestimate the scale of the challenge of the transitions that we're going to go through. And it's as though now we're becoming self-aware, to be able to self-inspect, to have these conversations, to legitimize us going into these places that are waiting, ready for us to populate. And one of them certainly is our ability to look back in at these fundamental processes of how life works and go with it, not be against it.
One of the brilliant things about the internet is it can widen people's reference points, so it gives you more options and choices. We've got more information available to us on our mobile phones than basically the President of America had available to him 30, 40 years ago, and we've all got that information, and it's about how we use it.
It would place where organisations where people you look forward to going to work. That actually they think, yeah, I want to get up, I want to go on, I want to do that thing because I'm working with people that I like, who trust me and I get on with, and that they've got my back, and that we're doing interesting things, and that my manager, my line manager, values me and talks to me about what I'm doing well and points out the things that are going right much more often than telling me the things that are going wrong, and that I can see that what I'm actually doing has some sort of purpose. And I can understand that what I'm doing contributes to something that is actually making, in some small way, the world a better place. Sounds a bit Pollyanna-ish, but actually, isn't that all what we all want to do, really? Just leave the place a little bit better than when we found it?
You tend to find that the real change is always occurring on the edges and the fringes, and so we need to be aware of how to legitimize that in society. And certainly potentialisation as a concept, as an invitation, as a process, is designed to meet all comers and support them on their very unique journey. And that's when it becomes really exciting.
How can we improve on all of the best tools that are already out there and deliver something exceptional? As an accessible tool, we want millions of people to use our system to help them grow individually. But with your help, we can use the knowledge with our team of experts to research even better methods of growth and learning, so that together we can have a bigger impact on the world. Click on the link below, start your personal journey, and let's make a difference together.